And welcome back to Sports Talk with Ed. Well, with the Dodgers starting their season less than about a month or two away, many wonder will they be able to repeat as champions as they did about 3 years ago. Now we all know that there were a lot of free agency acquisitions, losses, whatever you want to say, but let's find out if they can do it. And for a small brief report, here is Doug McCain of the Dodger Insider.
But following that has to be pitchers and catchers report because that means that another season is upon us and the Dodgers have another opportunity to add to their trophy case and win another World Series. But this has the potential to be another memorable season for the Dodgers, and I'm looking forward to this year more than most years because I like the change. I like the new look Dodgers. I like the fact that there's some young studs that are going to get an opportunity to have an impact for this team. I'm excited about some of these acquisitions. I'm excited about the fact that this team is going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder after what happened last year, where they set a new franchise record with 111 wins, only to get bounced in the NLDS after having won just one game. So this team has a lot to prove, and I'll tell you right from the jump that even though the Padres are viewed by many to be the favorites to win the division, that the Dodgers will still be kings of the NL West. I don't care that they traded for Juan Soto and Josh Hader at the deadline last year, that they added Xander Bogaerts in free agency, that Fernando Tatis is coming back, playing for the Syringe Diego Padres. But no, look, I'm glad that he's back, and the Padres are going to give the Dodgers some competition in the division, and congratulations to the Padres for being the Dodgers in the NLDS. But look, even though it was their World Series, it wasn't the World Series, and if you don't win the ring, it don't mean a thing. Little brother beat big brother in a game of one-on-one, but we still know who the better player is. But this is the first of a series of videos where we're breaking down the entire season, and we're going to dive right into it, starting with the arrivals and the departures. So let's start with the departures. Like we predicted, shortstop Trey Turner slid into a new big contract with the Philadelphia Phillies. He'll play alongside his BFF Bryce Harper in the city of brotherly love. Then longtime stalwart, iconic Dodger Justin Turner. LA did not pick up his club option. He ends up signing with the Boston Red Sox. So Red turned 2 now on the Red Sox. Cody Bellinger was non-tendered by the Dodgers. He ended up signing with the Chicago Cubs on a one-year deal. Tyler Anderson, he got himself a nice $39 million multi-year deal with the Angels. Andrew Heaney, he signs with the Texas Rangers. Craig Kimbrell, who was Craig Crumble with the Dodgers last season, he got demoted from the closer's spot. When it came to Kimbrelsa, LA let him go. He signed a one-year deal with the Phillies. Chris Martin signed a 2-year, $17.5 million deal with the Boston Red Sox. He can thank Mark Pryor and company for that one. Tommy Kahnle is back with the Yankees. Joey Gallo signed a one-year deal with the Twins. Edwin Rios signed with the Cubs. And Kevin Pillar signed with the Braves. So
We apologize. It looks like we're having a transmission signal here with Doug's report, and I think he's back on.
good luck to all those guys, unless, of course, they're facing the Dodgers. And you know the saying, it's once a Dodger, always a Dodger, unless you're Craig Kimbrell. I never want to see him in Dodger blue again. I'm going to be sending you my therapist, Bill Craig, because you put me through a lot last year. No, I'm just messing with you, Craig. You've had a great career, outside shot at the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. But now let's take a look at the arrivals, starting with designated hitter J.D. Martinez. So to fill Justin Turner's spot in the lineup, LA signed JD to a one-year, $10 million deal. Last season with the Red Sox, he slashed 274, 341, 448, had a 343 weighted on base average, had a 119 weighted runs created plus, so his bat was 19% above league average, but that number was down from his career 132 WRC plus, so that bat was down 13%. His 174 isolated power was the lowest it's been since 2013. Now his name JD used to stand for just dingers, but now it stands mostly for just doubles, because last year JD's 43 doubles were tied for fourth most in Major League Baseball, and his 16 home runs he hit last year was the lowest amount of dingers he's hit in a full season since 2013. Now one of the subplots here is that JD Martinez has been reunited with Robert Van Scoyoc, the Dodgers hitting coach, who was responsible for helping JD rework his swing and really helping his career take off. But hopefully he can have a power surge with the Dodgers. Who could forget the time he hit those 4 dingers at Dodgers Stadium? Now, what he's always done throughout his career is mash against lefties and hit the ball hard. And last season, JD had a 998 OPS versus southpaws. For his career, he's posted a 957 OPS versus lefties. So that is something that the Dodgers have struggled in the past few seasons, is mashing against southpaws, and he's absolutely pounded them throughout his career. So I think he's going to do a superb job at filling the DH role for the Dodgers. He's also an excellent postseason player, has a 987 career postseason OPS with 9 home runs, 5 doubles, and 109 at-bats in October. So that is going to be another thing he provides for this lineup. He's a clutch hitter, and he can perform on the big stage. And then the Dodgers signed Noah Syndergaard to a 1-year, $13 million deal. We're going to talk more about him when we discuss the Dodgers starting rotation. They added right-handed pitcher Shelby Miller. They gave him a major league contract, so he will be on that Dodgers roster. Right-handed pitcher JP Feyereisen. I love this pickup. The Dodgers got him via trade. He's going to miss the first 4 months of the season after having shoulder surgery, but he could have an impact later in the year. Then Jason Hayward. The Dodgers brought in outfielder, 5-time Gold Glove Award winner Jason Hayward, Freddie Freeman's old pal from his Atlanta days. Freddie said he influenced Andrew Friedman, the organization, and really helped bring him into Los Angeles. Say he's a great guy. We know how big of a locker room presence he can be. The only question is, can he find that stroke again at the plate? We'll talk about Hayward in a bit. And then there's David Peralta, who the Dodgers signed recently to a 1-year, $6.5 million contract that includes incentives that could take it up to over $8 million. And I like this pickup too. I think it's a solid pickup for a veteran hitter, a left-handed hitter that mashes right-handed pitching, can absolutely fill a role. You could possibly platoon him in left field. And the Dodgers traded for and then extended Miguel Rojas in a deal where the Dodgers parted ways with Jacob Amaya. We'll discuss Rojas in a bit. And then Alex Reyes. Alex Reyes is definitely your classic buy low, sell high deal for the Dodgers. And then Yanni Hernandez, an infielder that will provide some depth. And we're going to break down some of those players more in depth in just a second. But now let's take a look at the non-roster invitees. The Dodgers have 27 non-roster invitees at spring training this year, with most of them having some sort of big league experience. 17 of the 27 players have experience in the show. You have 11 position players and 16 pitchers. Now, the most notable of the position players is Jason Hayward. We talked about him a little bit earlier, and Hayward is the guy that you would hope could possibly reinvent himself with the Dodgers. LA signed him to a minor league contract with an invite to Major League Camp. Does have that long swing. He did struggle versus high velocity last season. Hayward hit 204 with a 61 WRC plus in 48 games with the Cubs last year. And in his 7 years in Chicago, he only had an above average season once, and that was when he had a 129 OPS plus in the 2020 shortened season. So he hasn't been good at the plate for quite some time, and that's going to be the big question. That's going to be the biggest challenge. Can he turn himself into a competent bat? And I think there's a decent chance he can. He's gotten off to a nice start this spring. He's had a home run. His swing looks more compact. He's made some adjustments. Dave Roberts said that he's really unlocked some things in the box. And I talked to Jason this spring, and I asked him, what is the biggest key for him to having success this season at the plate? And here's what he had to say. Yeah, as far as you at the plate, what do you think is the biggest key for you to really have a lot of success this year in the box?
Well, for one, just continue to be manageable on a day-to-day basis, be in a good position to hit consistently as possible, and that makes it easier to make adjustments on the fly. That's what all of us as hitters, we understand you have to do, and then right now at this point it's just continue to get more at-bats.
Some other interesting names on that list. You have Steven Duggar, who signed a minor league deal with the Dodgers in 271 MLB games. He slashed 236, 293, 367. His best year came in 2021 when he had a 767 OPS with 8 home runs with the Giants. I look for him to be more of a depth piece. And then you have Bradley Zimmer. So Bradley Zimmer, a former top 100 prospect. We know he's a great defender. He just hasn't been able to hit consistently at the big league level. He was a member of 3 different organizations in 2022. He was traded from the Guardians to the Blue Jays in April and then claimed off waivers by the Phillies in August. And now the biggest key for Zimmer, as is the case with most of these guys, is can they find a way to consistently hit big league pitching? Because last year, he couldn't hit sand if he fell off a camel. In 117 plate appearances with the Blue Jays and the Phillies, Zimmer slashed just 124, 207, and 229. Now, he does provide value as a runner and as a defender. For his career, he has a plus 10 outs above average, a plus 13 defensive runs saved, and a UZR 150 of 3.6. So look for him to fill that Kevin Pillar super depth role unless he can find it at the plate. And then taking a look at the pitching side, the first names that stand out are the young stud Dodgers pitchers. You have Bobby Miller, the Dodgers' number 2 overall prospect, their top pitching prospect. You know his raw stuff has the potential to be elite. The only question for him is, does he continue to develop? Does he have more success pitching with runners on base? How do those secondary pitches look? Is he continuing to develop that slider? You want to see him miss some more bats and just continue to get that poise on the mound and just look the part as a future top-level starter. And then, of course, there's Gavin Stone, the Dodgers' number 7 overall prospect. He has one of, if not the best, changeups in all of minor league baseball. I think he has the stuff and the command to make it in the show earlier than later. I think the fact that he came up as a closer and the fact that he has experience coming out of the pen makes you think that maybe the Dodgers use him in that role to get his big league career started. Another name that stands out is old friend Adam Kolarek. Can he provide some Kolarek value? The 6-year MLB veteran had a 4.58 ERA with the Oakland A's in 15 games in 2022, but he was outstanding in his role with the Dodgers from 2019 to 2020. Kolarek had a .88 ERA in 46 games with LA. He owned Juan Soto in 2019, retiring him all 3 times he faced him. Only issue with him was that 3-batter minimum. He is a true loogie, so we'll see if he can have some success with the Dodgers. And we'll see, will some of these other names that have an opportunity here start to emerge? Jordy Yamamoto, he's a guy who's most likely going to be a AAA veteran piece. Wander Suero has had some success in the past, but really for the most part, I don't see many of these guys having an opportunity to have an impact on the big league roster. If a guy goes down and gets injured, maybe they turn to some of these guys, but look for Gavin Stone, look for Bobby Miller, Adam Kolarek, and we'll see. Robbie Erlin's an interesting name. He appeared in 2 games with the Dodgers, of course, in 2022. He's an 8-year MLB veteran, but a lot of nice depth at the minor league level for the Dodgers. But let's stick to pitching and break down this Dodgers starting rotation heading into spring training. Now, you have to start with the tip of the spear, and that, of course, is Julio Urias. Urias won the NL ERA title last year with a 2.16 ERA. His fastball velo was down in 2022 from 94.1 miles per hour in 2021 to 93.1 miles per hour last year. His strikeout rate was down. His walk rate was down just a smidgen, but the Urias was as effective as ever. Julio's been the Dodgers' most trusted workhorse over the past few seasons. Last year, he finished just behind Tyler Anderson with 175 innings pitched, coming off a season where he led LA in 2021 with 185 1/3 innings pitched. Julio finished 3rd in the NL Cy Young Award voting, and if he replicates the success he had last year, he's going to make himself a very, very rich man in the final year of his contract. I think Julio is going to have another banger of a season and put himself in a great position to get a big bag. My one goal for Julio, though, in the 2023 season is to put the team on his back in the postseason as a starting pitcher. We know he did it out of the bullpen. I want to see it as a starter, and I know he's more than capable of doing just that. Now, should he be the Dodgers' opening day starter? I think there's no question that he's earned it. I think there's no question that he deserves it. But if they want to give it to Clayton Kershaw in what could possibly be his last season on the Dodgers, I'd be fine with that too. Now, segueing to a Mr. Clayton Edward Kershaw, the future first ballot Hall of Famer, made 22 starts in 22, and he got his numbers back down to his career norms. Kershaw's 2.28 ERA and 2.51 expected ERA were his best since 2017. Among major league pitchers that tossed at least 120 innings, Kershaw ranked 3rd in expected ERA and 6th in both ERA and 5th. Now, the most impressive thing to me about Kirsch in recent years is that he's quietly, successfully reinvented himself. From his Cy Young Award winning days when he was throwing 95 and 96 miles per hour down to 90.7 miles per hour last season, where he was in the 15th percentile, he's not that guy. But Kirsch leans heavily on his slider. Now, Kirsch is a happily married man, but he has a slide piece. He throws it 42.7% of the time, and when he has the feel for that slide piece, it's one of the best sliders in the game. Last season, it had a -10 run value, which was 19th in all of Major League Baseball, and he also has that Uncle Charlie that gives him another plus pitch. So with Kershaw, it's simple. Health is wealth. When he's on the mound and he's healthy, he's still a trusted ace-level pitcher. Let's just hope he can avoid injury in 2023. That brings us to Tony Gonsolin. The Catman took a giant step forward last season after working his way through arm and shoulder injuries all throughout 2021. He came out of the litter box strong in 2022. Through his first 15 starts, the great Catsby went 11-0 with a 1.62 ERA, and as an ultimate sign of respect by his peers, was selected by the players for his first career all-star game. Now, a lot of Gonsolin's success and growth last year was due to him attacking the strike zone and trusting his defense. Now, his 207 BABIP was the lowest in the league for pitchers that toss a minimum of 130 pitches, so that could point to some regression, especially with the restricted shift. But if he's on and he's healthy, his split change and slider combo are one of the best in the game. Against those two pitches, opponents hit a combined 122, and it accounted for 89 of his 119 punch-outs. The only issue for Gonsolin in 2022 was that his season was derailed to an extent by injuries. Tony Smokes was leading the National League with a 2.10 ERA when he landed on the IL with a right forearm strain, and when he returned, he just did not look like the same cat. He wasn't as effective, and he really struggled for the Dodgers in Game 3 of the NLDS versus the Padres. He was only able to get through an inning and a third. He allowed just one run, but the command wasn't there. He wasn't very effective. And if you look at his innings pitched, he ended up throwing in 130 and a third innings. That was by far his career high at the big league level. And the question for him is, can he stay healthy and build on the momentum that he had last year? Because I think he had some real breakthroughs last season, not even just physically, but also mentally. His ability to attack hitters, you weren't seeing him nibble as much. And the fact remains that when he's on the mound, he's one of the better pitchers in the game. I look for him to be the Dodgers' number 3 or 4 starter, but it's all about help for Tony Gonsolin and continuing to improve and continuing to become more of a pitcher than a thrower. And we saw him make strides in that department last season. Now, the Dodgers' big offseason pitching acquisition was Noah Syndergaard. Thor signed a 1-year, $13 million deal with the Dodgers, despite having multiple multi-year offers from other teams, but Thor said he wanted to pitch for LA. I assume that he's seen what the Dodgers have been able to do with other pitchers around the league and how they've turned their careers around and gotten their careers back on track. Just look at what they were able to do with Tyler Anderson last year. He was a guy they signed to a 1-year, $8 million deal. They ended up getting him a nice bag with the Angels, a $39 million deal. So you know that Thor recognized that. He wants to have the same success in LA. Now, it is his 4th team in 4 years, and last year he finished with a 3.94 ERA, which wasn't spectacular, but he did manage to stay healthy for the most part and pitched 134 and 2/3 innings in his first full season back from Tommy John surgery, and another 8 1/3 innings pitched in the postseason to the tune of a 3.24 ERA. Last year, he displayed great command with his walk rate in the 86th percentile. He limited hard contact, and the average exit velocity was in the 80th percentile. Hard hit rate was in the 79th percentile. Now, his velo was down 4 miles per hour from his peak. Last year, he averaged 93.6 miles per hour on his heater. At his peak, he was at 98.7 miles per hour back in 2016. So that is going to be the biggest key. Can he regain that velocity? And Dave Roberts has already said at spring training that Thor's velo has been trending at the start of spring training. So that is a good sign. With that 6.3 strikeouts strikeouts per 9 was the lowest in his career. So we'll see. Can Thor figure things out with the Dodgers? Because that would change everything. To me, that's one of the big X factors, because if he can pitch like an ace on a 1-year, $13 million deal, that's going to change what the Dodgers do at the deadline. They don't have to go out there and get someone, and he's a guy that has a lot to gain this season. And I just have this feeling that this year, my favorite day of the week is going to be Thor's Day. But you go from Syndergaard to Gingergaard with Dustin May. Dustin May returned to Dodger Stadium for the first time since undergoing Tommy John surgery in 2021, and he was absolutely mesmerizing, striking out 9 Marlins in 5 scoreless innings of work on 71 pitches. Unfortunately, May had his ups and downs after his hot start, losing to the Marlins a week later, and he got rocked by the Padres, allowing 6 runs in 5 innings of work, giving up 2 home runs. Now, the issue with May in his return was that command. What I always say, if you want to be the man, you have to have the command, and in his 6 starts, he issued 14 walks in 30 innings of work. His walk rate was up from 6.5% through his first 4 starts in 2021 to 11% in 6 starts in 2022. Now, we know when it comes to pure raw stuff, Dustin May has endless potential. His stuff moves more than a military family, and if his command improves, he could be an all-star this season. That's how good he is. It's just about controlling that strike zone and working that sinker on the inner half to righties and just finding that balance. And I talked to Code Red about getting his command back on track, and here's what he told me. You look at your numbers last year, the walk rate was a little higher than it was in 2021. What do you think is the key for you to get your command back to where it was before? Any mechanical adjustments, anything you need to do? What do you think the key is for that?
Yeah, mechanic or like motion-wise, the plate was a little different than it was last year. Going from pre-surgery, so got myself back into kind of the motion and mechanical cues that I had pre-surgery now. So trying to build off of that and keep going.
And another one of the Dodgers' young stud pitching prospects that could see more opportunities this year is Ryan Pepiot. He had a cup of coffee in the show last year, struggled with command at times, but you saw him flash that potential. That changeup is nastier than a gas station bathroom. He's improved his delivery in the offseason, had some nice starts so far this spring, has been more effective with that slider, and Pepiot's a guy that could really make a leap this year. Now, the biggest question surrounding the Dodgers bullpen in 2023 is how will LA close games? Will they go closer by committee and play the matchups, or will they find a closer? Well, Bill Plunkett, he tweeted out, Dodgers Dave Roberts said he doesn't expect to pick a closer this spring and doesn't think spring training would be a good time to have a competition for that role. He'll go on to say, at some time, will we have a closer? I could see that, but I also could see us not having a closer. Now, last year, the Dodgers traded A.J. Pollock for Craig Kimbrell during spring training, and Kimbrell was the Dodgers closer for the majority of the season. And unfortunately, Craig Kimbrell went Craig Crumble too many times. He was ultimately replaced, and he did not make the Dodgers postseason roster. Now, Evan Phillips was the Dodgers' best high-leverage reliever last year. He has established himself as a top 5 reliever in the game, and I talked to him about the closer's role for the Dodgers, and here's what he had to say. So, of course, I asked you about your role. We know the Dodgers have had so many elite closers. This year, it's pretty much wide open. Just kind of what are your thoughts on your role? Have they told you anything?
You know, I would expect to pitch in the same fashion I did last year, and perhaps that'll include a bit more of the 9th inning, but nothing has been phrased to me or I believe anybody else about a specific closer role. I think we value that position differently. We value getting outs, and from top to bottom throughout our bullpen, we know we can get the job done.
Now, me personally, I've always been a fan of the closer by committee approach when it comes to getting those final 3 outs. Play the matchups, and also, you don't want to burn your best reliever as the closer. You don't want to lock him in to that role. That's why I don't want to see Fireman Phillips as LA's closer. I want to see him in facing the meat of the order in the highest leverage situations, so you keep him for that. Now, if the Dodgers do want to go to a closer, who would I want? I'd go with Daniel Hudson. He was the Dodgers' most effective high leverage reliever for the first 3 months of the season. He pitched in either the 8th or the 9th inning in 18 of his 20 appearances. He had a 2.22 ERA, a 2.86 FIP, both the best of his career, and his 2.74 expected ERA was his highest since 2015. He struck out 30.9% of the batters he faced, his third straight season of over 30% in that department. He also walked just 5.2 batters that he faced. So he has that swing and miss stuff that you need in the bottom of the ninth. He can miss bats, and his 5 saves on the team ranks second, even though he missed the last 3 months of the year. Now, he did tear his ACL in Atlanta, and it was reported that he is being affected currently by ankle tendonitis, but he still expects to be ready when the season begins. So I like Danny Hudson as my closer if they're going to go that direction. Now, switching gears to the position players, we have to start by talking about the shortstop position. And this was primed to be the year of Gavin Lux, the year where the Dodgers' former top prospect took over at short and really established himself as LA's long-term solution at that position. But unfortunately, Gavin suffered a season-ending ACL injury at the beginning of spring training, and he's going to miss.
Special thanks to Doug for that report. We look forward for the Dodgers and hopeful that they'll be able to bring another championship here this season. Now we're gonna go ahead and take a short break. We'll be back for the final part of the show. We'll break down the Angels too as well after this. After this break, we'll talk about the Angels as well as far as Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout. Also, we'll see what if the new ownership is still part of it or not. We'll have a preview of the season for the Angels after this.